The Zoom cafe is where it's at. And this is now my third chit chat, fireside chit chat. And this time I decided to pick a topic that was probably one of the hardest ones to confront. Uh, it needed 12, 13 months of sobriety to tackle this one head on. And it's a subject that our children, and more specifically, the effects of my drinking on my household and in particular on my children. And this is not a subject I could have looked at and pondered over rationally or without falling to pieces in the early months. But I feel now that I feel so much more kind of relaxed and reflective and not so horrible to myself that I can actually look at some of those hard truths and get them out there, share them with you all. Hopefully, have you all nod in agreement. We've all been there, or all of you who have known, and just move on, which is what this is all about. So, yeah, my name is Hélène. I am 13 months nearly sober. I live in Geneva, and I am married for 25 years with three grown boys. And this is the story about me and my boys, who I love to death. So, we all know that kids love a happy parent over anything in the world. And kids like a household where one, or even better, both parents are at home a lot. They just like to know that there's someone there. They like the regularity of the home like that. They like routine. They like having a fridge full of food. That they like it when the house is nice, tidy, pretty organized. They like it when they have the right clothes. They just like certain things to be in place and a certain sense of order and present clearance in the house. And I found that is what makes a content child and a harmonious child. And our children are a product of us, the parents, and they're a product of the system and generally the parents. So it's not rocket science. None of this is rocket science. So what happens when you throw in some stresses into the mix, like excessive alcohol? I don't even know to say excessive because it wasn't that excessive. I couldn't have been an excessive drinker because I wouldn't have been able to hold the show on the road, but I was a drinker with three kids and home alone. Other stresses that you throw into the mix that make for a turbulent household or money issues, divorce, stuff like that, or an absent parent through work or whatever reason. And yes, the household is affected at different levels and in different ways. And one thing's for sure, an unsettled household means a parent, and certainly in my case, becomes inconsistent, irrational, and unhappy. All the things that are contrary to what I said at the beginning is what makes a healthy, happy child. So I was personally the eldest daughter of a depressive mother, and I can definitely say millions of years later that it affects my being throughout my childhood and into adulthood. And at various points, I have got revisited this and trying to iron it out and just let that go and just deal with it and move on. And that's me 56 years later. And so the fact that I'm addressing this now with my children who are 20, 18, or 14, I think it's pretty damn good. Yeah, this talk is about how my drinking affected my boys who were 2018 and 14. And just to make it clear, my boys have always been my priority. They want out over work. I packed in my job in my 40s when I was in banking, put it all beside me, decided to be a full-time mum. It was super challenging. And now that two of them have flown the nest and they are that much older, I can now look back and go, bloody hell, that's hard work. But it was immensely enjoyable and immensely rewarding. And a huge chapter of my life I will always talk about and want to talk about, and be very happy to talk about and share. Which is why I thought it was fair to have this conversation with my boys. And I use the interview technique that I've done in previous podcasts, because in particular with men and boys, if I give them the questions up front, they can go away, have a ponder, and write some notes down instead of me going, let's go down and chat with on a dog walk and answer all them questions. That doesn't work with my lot. So I gave them 3 questions. Number 1, I asked them, what was mum like in her drinking days? I remember you need to think of good memories as well as the shit memories. Number 2, describe mum now I've stopped drinking. And dare I ask, which version do you prefer? And I did ask. And number 3, how has my drinking affected your attitude towards alcohol? So remember, the boys are 20, 18 or 14. So we've got quite a nice spectrum. And I'm pleased to say the answers were broadly similar, but I did have a surprise in just how different some of their memories and recollections were when they cast their mind back to, and they really struggled to cast their mind back with some of the periods, but generally consistency, but there were some things that were just wildly different. So how odd? We've all got the same mom. I brought them up in the same way. I drank in the same way with all of them. We had the same friendship group. We lived in the same house. So how come they're not sharing the same memories or experiences or sensitivities? And I had to ponder about this, like, well, why is that? Why is that? And then it became very obvious. Ever since my boys were toddlers, their personalities were very different. And we all know when we have more than one kid, they all are so wildly different, even though they may look the same and generally they like the same things. At the end of the day, they have very different personalities, and therefore their experiences are different, therefore their recollections are very different. It's an example I like to use. When I was little, I used to describe the 3 and how different they were. So, for example, we're all sitting at the table having dinner, and if I dropped a pen on the floor, my eldest, Louis, would have looked over and gone, "Oh, Mum, you've dropped a pen on the floor," and then carried on eating. The middle one, Charlie, would have looked up, got out of his chair, picked up the pen, brought it back and given it to me. And in the same situation, my youngest, Jean-Luc, wouldn't even have noticed that the pen had been dropped on the floor. So the same scenario, 3 completely different reactions. And that made it very clear to me that the same scenario of drinking, same house, same everything, same behaviors, 3 different reactions and 3 different responses. And which is why I decided to do one-on-one interviews with each of them, because I knew their answers would be different, their recollections of the same situations would be different. And that was really why. Because then at the end, did I consolidate them and go, ah, your brother said this and he said that. And they'd go, really? Oh, I don't remember that. I remember it more like this, and have a really different take on it. So the thing all along throughout all my mumming days, I actually thought I was doing a fantastic job. I was always reliable. I was fully functioning. I went the extra mile with activities. I set a really high model bar because I went straight from kind of corporate banking world where the bar was high into a home environment, and the bar just went from one place to the other. And so I set my bar very high. I always got to time. I got them to school on time. They had the best packed school bags. All the meals were home cooked. They went to every bloody thing after school possible. Come on. All the while, behind the scenes, I've been fending off with crappy hangover, feeling like a pole. Not every day, but some of those days. And the irony is that when you set such a high bar, you need to have something to relieve you at the end of the day, or I did. And I needed a massive checkout button, just wash all that kind of self-imposed stress as well as the children's stress on top of that. And for me, that came in the form of white wine. And it really did the job. It alleviated the stress, the busyness, but the boringness of it all. And my husband was away in London the whole time. So yeah, that really was my go-to at the end of, not every day, but most days. I'm hoping I'm starting to relate to some people, you're relating with me, where this conversation is going. That's setting the scene. Let's get some answers back and I'll replay what they said when I asked questions. Question one: what memories do you have of mum when she was drinking? And remember to think of the good things if you can, and some of the less good things. And all three, without fail, remembered me with a glass in my hand, starting off happy, silly, chatty, generous, buoyant, fun version of me, which is the same kind of tipsy version that my husband struggled to let go of when I quit drinking. The tipsy version is the attractive version. The very thin tipsy version, as we all know, turn into piss version, and suddenly that's when it all went very wrong. So whilst I remember you as being outgoing, sociable, engaging, always having parties and hosting lots of things at our house, this is why my eldest son's memories stop, because he still has those memories and that's how he remembers me, and then he blanks. But my middle son, remember, this is the one who the pen drops on the floor. He's the one who picked it up and brought it back without realising it. His memories go on a lot further and a lot more deeply and more harder for me to hear, because they're hard truths we don't want to hear. So he was quick to add, when you had unvetted talk, which is in English, one too many, I very quickly went from being this kind of gregarious, bloody, silly mo to very embarrassing, very shouty, very defensive, very resentful, and often argumentative mo. And then he swiftly added, he had to get me out of various scrapes, and he felt that I put myself and them in jeopardy in various situations that were unsafe. And I'll go on to pointing out specifically what they look like later, but that is a hard thing to hear from a child. I like them in danger, or they felt that they were endangered, even though I probably at the time thought nothing of it, or a whiff of, I shouldn't be doing this, but I'll do it anyway. Nobody will know, and they're only kids, kind of thing. Anyway, my eldest then continued, sorry, my middle son then continued with more anecdotes. And he said, I have to tell you, Mum, when you were drinking, you had too many. You would then lock yourself away in a room, and it was absolutely pointless anyone coming to talk to you about anything remotely sensible or serious, because either you didn't engage or you didn't want to engage, or if you did, you completely forgot what we were talking about the next morning. So it was absolutely pointless even having that conversation to start with. Or you just didn't make any sense. So it was that far down the line. So what I tended to do around 5 o'clock, which was about 90 minutes before I started to get things ready for dinner, was to literally take my bottle into the lounge, close the door, and basically, I may as well have just put a massive red flag up with a big F off sign on it and said, I am unavailable. I'm unavailable to you, to anybody that only interrupts me if it's an emergency. Obviously, I didn't do that, but the signs were all there. I thought by being in the same room with the door half open, that I was accessible. Okay. So the signs were all there. Boys knew straight away, okay, do not disturb for 90 minutes. Let's wait for dinner. And that's what happened. I would go in there, no one disturbed me. And that's when the more damage would happen because that's when I got me time now. So I get my telephone, I start looking through my diary and scrolling. If I wasn't doing some stupid shopping, I'd be organizing parties, invitations, holidays, things that I'm going to do this weekend, and just fill my diary with all these things that I would then have to cancel the next morning or walk with a tail between my legs thinking, oh, Jesus Christ, I don't. I've just convinced my friend that we should do a week camping in God knows where with some so. Oh my God. And then another thing I would do is let's go and have a party for 100 people in my back garden next month. Already starting to invite everybody. These are hard things to cancel the next day, but I thought it was fantastic. So I thought it was a time when I had the most lucidity, the most buoyancy, and I had all these great ideas. Well, in fact, it's the opposite. So another thing Charlie added to the mix things that I did, he said, "Man, I used to really cringe when we would go to people's houses or they came to ours. Uh, we'd be in like this social gathering, and you'd be laughing and joking and partying and be doing funny things like silly mum dancing or karaoke or all the rest of it. And he said that there you were thinking everyone was laughing with you, but he would have been 10 to 15 years old, saw that everyone was laughing at me. I was the butt of the joke. And he wanted his mum, his brave, fabulous, fantastic mum, to be the one who was telling the jokes, being the witchy one, and everyone laughing with her rather than at her. And God, that was like something that got a knife into my heart. Because I generally thought I was just hilarious, absolutely hilarious. The center of the party. The more I was egged on, the more I was being laughed at, and the more cringe-worthy the behaviour. And it was always in the day, because that's when all the socialising happened when you're with your kids. And very wisely, the eldest would go off somewhere else. The middle one would always be hovering around. The little one was absolutely clueless. Yeah, I'm hoping there are some nods in the group here now going, yeah, I definitely remember doing that. Luckily, kids do have this amazing ability to forget crappy things. And I know it took some time for my boys to recollect some of this stuff, but a lot of it was not far from their instant recall. It just made me think, I think they'll be carrying that for a long time. I still get flashbacks myself. Some of it I was completely oblivious to, but I do get flashbacks of some of the behaviors and some of the things I did that I now go, what was I thinking? So who's done this? Who's taken a glass of wine to the back room while doing the bath? Yeah. Who has rushed bedtime stories so that you can get back on the wine downstairs? Quite a few times, actually. Who has started homework? Now, remember, you come back from school at 3:30 to 4 o'clock, and that's quite early. Who's done homework with a glass of wine? Many times. Who's isolated another room to switch off, check out, do all your scrolling, do all those jobs that you've been meaning to do all day, but you haven't had a chance to do around 5 o'clock? That was pretty much every day for me. And let everyone know, do not disturb unless it's really urgent. 1,000 times for me. And then this was the biggie. There were absolutely no chance any of my kids could have done an after club if it needed a lift or I needed to take them somewhere because at 6 o'clock and beyond, there was no lift. So if my any of my kids had to go to gymnastics or trampolining, I would go through this enormously complicated thing with a friend. Oh, I'll take your children, but can you pick them up? And I thought they must know that I would always volunteer to go do this huge kind of awkward route around everyone's houses to pick all the kids up to drop them off, and then go back home, have my drink and my me time. And then at some point in the evening, a child would be dropped off. They go, "Hi, mum," straight upstairs with a big sign, which would do not disturb until dinner time. So yes, there are lots of things. I know there are many more, but those for me were the biggies. It just glass was glued to my hand for some reason. Yeah, all the time wherever I went, it was there. That paints a pretty vivid picture of how I presented myself to my children in the old days. Very Jekyll and Hyde, actually, depending on what time of day it was. Uh, the flicking the switch was around 5 or 6 o'clock uh, every day of the week. As they were getting older, it got more and more regular. Now, in France, there's no such thing as mummy culture, wine culture. So there was none of this getting your friends round and boozing together. So this was my isolated drinking, unless my husband was. And I don't know whether that's any better or any worse. So there was actually no one to be accountable to at all. And I thought it was completely okay behavior. No one to compare it to, no one to chat with about, or no one to feel guilty with. And I certainly didn't have Instagram or anything to validate my behavior. So I just thought that was fine. Yeah, that part of the interview, consolidating that was really hard for me to get those points down, particularly hearing it from my middle son, who felt the pain, particularly felt everything. My eldest, quite blasé, and the youngest one, very few memories. Uh, luckily, you were very young. Yeah, that was tricky. So, moving on to the positive side of things, question two. So, how have I changed in the last 12 months, boys? And I'm thrilled to say the answers were much more consistent, astute and positive. So, in no particular order, number one, Mum, you've got loads more energy. You don't seem to slow pop in the afternoon for an afternoon nap. No, I have afternoon naps, but I don't really remember having them that often that the kids noticed, but they did. And I did keep sloping off for an afternoon nap. And I used to call it reading a book, or I used to call it meditating, or I used to call it just going on the computer, all sorts of absolute bollocks excuses. But really, I was going into the room, shut the door, earplugs in, and to have an hour snooze. And that's because the night before, I would wake at 3, the anxiety wheel would start going, and then it would be really broken sleep after that. Uh, yeah, the anxiety was quite intense. And I was sleep deprived. And I'm not talking about children when they were not sleeping in the night. I'm talking about when they were older and they were sleeping through. So the sleep deprivation towards the end was totally self-inflicted. And now I can understand that it's all to do with the alcohol, the sugar in my body coming out, waking me up. The energy level very noticeable. My moods are way more consistent, they said. And my demeanor is just so much clearer and tense and consistent. They said that I'm much more present. I'm available to talk any time of the day. I've got one son in Australia, one in Canada, one at home with me. So I've got to be available 24/7 because they all scattered all over the place. But before they all went on to the other side of the world, they said that I was there in my room. They could knock on the door, come in, we'd have a chat, snuggle into bed. And yeah, that felt really good to hear that because I just didn't realize the bottle of wine sitting in my lounge with the big "Do not disturb mummy's drinking" sign was that big and that neon and had affected them that much. Now they don't think twice about, "Mum, can I come and have a chat?" "Yes." "Oh, no problem. I always make time." So they've noticed that I have made new friends, all of you included. And I have to say, having been in a friend drought, the sober friend drought for 6 months, because I didn't socialize and I didn't put myself out there to make sober friends, I found that I was one of my limiting beliefs was I am no longer fun, nobody will like me, and therefore I'm not going to make any friends. And my friendship group is just going to get smaller because those who still drink will not want to go out with me after. All the crap that is. So made loads of new friends, all of you, and from there it's grown and grown. I am living in Switzerland, and I also right next door to friends, sober friends. They are few and far between, but I am starting to eke them out. And they are starting to wear their sober badge with pride because it's a real cultural issue here that if you can't drink, it means you must have been a raging alcoholic and very poorly and therefore have to abstain. And it's not a question of I choose not to drink, but a question of you must have been really poorly and you had to drink. And so that mentality is very difficult to crack and to break through, find friends, but I am managing slowly. So I am making more friends locally, which is nice. My kids say I'm a lot more relaxed, and less anxious, less jittery. They noticed that I used to quite hyper, and now slightly less hyper. I still think I'm quite hyper, and slightly less now. I have a lot more focus, more talking about projects, more talking about plans, more talking about things that we're going to do together as a family, what that we should be thinking of doing. And if I say we're going to do something, we do it. None of this procrastination or being distracted by 10 other things. I actually crack on and do it. And they've really noticed that. They said that I care a lot less about other people's lives and their gossip. Where did that come from? I have no idea. I gave a shit about other people's lives, but clearly I did. And what they were up to, and I used to come home and tell everybody else what they were up to. And now I just don't care. No, no, it's not even a thing. They said I'm a lot more reflective, thoughtful, even reserved, which I thought was never an adjective that would describe me ever in a million years. So there I was thinking I was this raging extrovert, and in fact, I'm much more introspective, thoughtful, ponder over things a bit more, less knee-jerk reacting, and just take my time. And maybe this really was me all along, and I have no freaking clue. And a long time of hiding that because ever since the age of 17, 18, I've hidden behind this veil of alcohol to be the party animal, and it's stuck. And I'm 56 now, so you can do the math at 40 years pretending to be the wild card. Well, in fact, yeah, she's in there sometimes, but not all the time. So I choose when she comes out, when she wants to go to sleep. So that's quite nice. When I asked which version of mum do you prefer, what do you reckon? It was this one. Sure. So by a million miles, he went, mum now is wet. You're far more fun, you're curious, you're interested in us, you're more measured. And of course, actually, who to cry every time. I just think, wow, okay, yeah, it was worth it. They really clearly were affected. Although, like my husband, my oldest son, still missing that old party version of mum, I don't miss, I can say it, 18 months old. Uh, Two of my kids don't miss her, and I actually think my husband is starting to not miss her now because she's not coming back. She was really somebody who belongs in Madame Tussauds Wax Museum, and I'll just fossilise this put them over there. Someone else can look at them. And I'll put them next to Kate Blanchett, and I'll put her right next to Taylor Swift, and I'll just carry on living as a real person, opposed to effigy and something I'm not. And that feels pretty good, actually. Yeah, just peel that off, just step out as me. And it does take that long and trade, everybody, unless you're there. What that does mean, though, is that whole limiting belief about, am I fun? Will I be fun if I stop drinking then? I don't think I can stop drinking because I won't be fun anymore. That was a huge challenge for me and a big belief, limiting belief I had to do it on day. And I think I'm getting there. In fact, I definitely am getting there. So hang on to anyone who still believes that now and still feels compromised by not being as fun as they used to be. And stick to it because you do push through and get out the other end as a different person. Yeah, as a different, more embellished person, which is nice. I asked them, "Am I boring? Am I still boring after all these months?" And they went, "No, I don't think you are, Mum. You are sometimes, but we all are a bit sometimes, and I get bored sometimes, but they are passing phases, and I'm just trying to reconcile that this is an emotion that you just have to live with and not drink on, and just experience it, and then the next day, a new emotion floods in, and then you just crack on." So boring. Yeah, boring. Don't like that word boring. So there I was convinced that by ditching the drink, I would lose my friend. Not true. I'd be separated and divorced by now. Not true. And I've been living the life of a nun. Definitely not true. Let's go on to the last question, which is the generation question really about. So I asked the boys, how watching me and hopefully what my me as a role model, how am I stopping drinking and me talking about it all the time and us discussing it as a family all the time affected your behaviours and your attitude towards drinking? And the eldest said, who's 20 now, and he said, "To be honest with you, Mum, I can take it or leave it. All my friends are respectful about whether I want to drink or not. It's always been the case." And I just thought to myself, wow, how times have changed. So regardless of whether I stopped or not, I actually think that his friendship group, the way they're school, uh, their age group, that's generally how they are. How times have changed is all I can say. My middle son Charlie, so he's 18, he's just gone to Canada, and that's exactly when the drinking practice comes in, memory at university. And I said to him, "So how are you going to be when you go there?" And he said, "But totally get how addictive it is. I've seen your experiences. You talked to me about it." So I think it's really uncool, Mum. I just think it's really uncool. Really, whether you've seen all these videos on TikTok, Mum, of parents being incredibly embarrassing where they're pissed, and the kids will share them amongst each other and they shame their parents. And this is what they feed off. This is what they don't want for themselves. Thank God for social media in that respect it's a shaming tool. And I'm quite happy to be the one who's shamed if it means they won't do it quite to the same extreme as me. So that's, and then my little one who's 14, he said to me, "I've had a sip of your AF beer, all right. Had a sip of that, all right." But Generation A, they could care even less about booze. It doesn't even feature in their language. Their obsession is gaming and more gaming. And what games have you got? Bits of social media on there. My older ones, it's don't. Don't seems to be the go-to for stress relief and checking out, improving a night out, whatever. So whilst I feel I've explained all the downsides of alcohol, fortunately, I'm not equipped to talk to them about the downsides of marijuana because I've never really done marijuana. However, I tell them it's the same thing. It's the same doesn't you'll get addicted, take it, you will be aware. So I've tried to make parallel with that. I don't feel like I'm completely out of the woods. But certainly when it comes to alcohol, they know that it's poisoning the cup of tea and it is ridiculously embarrassing when you have too much. Thankfully, that's where that falls. Ew. Although doing this little exercise with the kids it made my stomach turn, twist, uh, It was very difficult to hear what they had to say. Luckily, I'm not someone who dwells guilt too much, and I don't dwell on shame. So I heard it, I felt it, and I kept it in my stomach, and I went, "Yeah, okay, I'll take it on the chin. Glad we had this honest conversation, and I'm going to write it down." I told them I was going to share it with other people, and hopefully, it will help other people to have this conversation with their kids, help them get it off their chest, help me get it off my chest, and make it a positive experience. And they were very happy to do that. I can't dwell on it. I think overall, we've all done an amazing job of being a mom. I think if I look back, I really did a great job. I'm really proud of my boys. Proud that they can talk to me. They can tell me all this stuff. And they totally get it when I explain that I use alcohol to get me through to the end of the day and to just dial down the noise, and dial down the stress, and to relieve, soothe some of the boredom, relieve and soothe some of the loneliness. And it was totally medicinal right up until I went to my 50s, until it was totally miserable. And that's when I decided to take action. So that's where I'm at. So if we go right back to the beginning of this talk, I said that happy parents generally make happy kids. And I really do believe this, particularly after I interviewed the boys and I saw that they are a direct reflection of our mood and the way we bring our children up. One of the things that drinking parents can do that can be unsafe for our children or can impact on their children to be aware of is it makes them feel unprotected. Your drinking can make them feel unprotected and vulnerable and unsafe. I don't know whether anyone here has got really young children, really young children into their early teens. This is how they feel. They feel what's coming next. Is she going to do this? Is she going to do that? Where can we go? That feeling of being unprotected is our job as a parent is to be there. And anything unpredictable in our behavior will unsettle that. And it's scary. And it's scary for children to feel like that. So that's something we do not want for our children. And yet I am through that and I feel pretty shit for doing that. The other one is we can make our children, by being a drinking parent, take on the role of carer. And my Charlie, the little one, clearly the carer for me. How many times did you have to take me up those stairs when I was a bit staggery? How many times did you have to get me into bed with water? How many times did you have to get me a party early because I definitely had tipped over the edge? For a young child, that is just the wrong way round. Your child should not be caring for you, and that's something I'm still trying to reconcile with now and to move on from. And it's repeated behaviour because it's exactly what I used to do with my mum when she was in a bad way herself. And I swore I would never put my kids through the same, and I did. And also, children, they can feel embarrassed when you are behaving badly with a drink in your hand at parties. That whole embarrassing thing makes them cringe and it tortures them inside and they don't like that feeling either. Well, they can feel sad, angry when parents drink, particularly when you're happy 1 minute and then before you know it, boom, you're sliding down into that slovenly now sadness and resentment and anger. And kids feel that and they take it in, they absorb it. So these are big emotions for kids to take on. And I have probably put all of my kids through one or more of each same emotion. And I'm hoping that now, having talked to them through in great detail, that they've managed to just get it off their chest. And with me being so much calmer, it means that they feel that they can talk to me without me jumping down their throats, and I can be more rational with them, and I can listen and not throw it back at them and justify, "Oh, I wasn't really drinking that much." That was the classic for me. "Oh, I haven't had that much. It wasn't me. It's just, I had medication earlier. That's why I'm a bit slurry," which of course is completely untrue. So the fact that I have quit, the fact that we can talk, the fact that I have been a role model to them now, the fact that I've empowered them to make decisions about their drinking habits, and the fact that they can be honest with mum means that this has been the best decision of my life. And I don't regret any of it one minute, and I definitely don't regret having been a drinking mum either. But here I am now, able to pick up, carry on, and be a lot stronger. And I really hope the mums in the group here, you feel the same and you have a great relationship with your kids, particularly that honesty bit where they know that they can talk to you and go, you know, that when you used to do that, mum, and they can be honest with you and you won't bite their head off. And then you go, yeah, I take that and I agree with you. And yeah, I apologize. That was drinking, mum. How can we make that better now? And move on. So thank you so much for letting me talk to you all today. And yeah, it's a hard one, this one. Really hard one, but got it off my chest. Thank you.